Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel, and today I finally get to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, especially because you guys have been asking me about this for like 3-4 years now. Not only you guys, my audience, but a lot of companies, a lot of newspaper outlets, a lot of TV shows have been asking me this question. Why don't blacks or black people travel more often? And it's an interesting question because it's probably the most universal question in that I get this from people of color as well as people of non-color. So I think it's time for me to go ahead and address this. But let's start with one thing, one very important thing before people start coming for me. I don't speak for all black people. The African American, Latino community aren't a monolith. We all don't think the same. We all don't act the same. Our reasons for traveling or not traveling are not the same. So anybody who's telling you this is why blacks don't travel, definitively it's just wrong, because nobody can speak for our entire community. My opinion comes from my time as an African American man growing up in the inner city, my time as an educator, my time as a travel professional, my time as somebody who frequently works with first-time travelers of color. So that's where this video is going to come from. With that said, for me, honestly, I believe there are really three main primary reasons that people of color don't travel. The first one is going to be economically based, the next one is going to be culturally based, and the very last one is going to be fear-based. And the last one could be a little rough. So the first one is really not even specifically a people of color thing. This is just a poor people or people who don't have the assets to travel thing. The reality is, for a lot of people of color, that you really have to choose how you spend your money wisely. A quick story about what it's like growing up poor and black in Cleveland, which is where I grew up. My mother, in the summertime, would get the gas turned off so we could save money. And if it ever got cold, the thing, if you from the Midwest, you know that April, it can still be cold. April, beginning of May, can still be kind of chilly, especially at night. So what we would do was we would take a pot of water and put it on the electric skillet thing. It wasn't a stove, it was like just one of those two burner electric things. And we would boil water. And it was our job to go in and check it like every hour to see if the water had gone all the way down and to fill it back up. That's how we got heat. And we would put blankets and covers up over the doorways to kind of keep the heat or direct the heat throughout the house. That's a very real thing. It's in the United States of America. There are families who do this just to make ends meet. And travel is at the very bottom of that list. You know, when you're trying to feed a family, you're not thinking about going to Paris. You're not thinking about just going to Texas from Ohio. So the financial issues are very, very real. But things are really changing. I honestly believe that travel hasn't been more affordable than it is today. There's a lot of travel shaming going on where, for example, there was an actress from Insecure, I can't remember her name, who got a little heat on Twitter for travel shaming. She said something to the effect of that instead of buying Jordans and new clothes, people should be getting passports. She was just kind of throwing shade at people. And I definitely understand that perspective. I think it's a little misguided. I think it's a borderline arrogant. But I think that there are a lot of people who don't make travel a priority who could afford it financially, which brings us to the next point, culture. Now, representation and visualization are very powerful tools of empowerment and disenfranchisement. You have to remember that within the US media or global media, African Americans, Latinos don't make up a big portion of those who are presented in a positive light, especially in the travel space. When everybody that you see is blonde hair, blue-eyed, and fair-skinned, that has an impact on you, even subconsciously, not to mention consciously for those people who really notice it, like myself. When you don't see anybody who represents you or who looks like you, it's going to be difficult for you to imagine yourself in that position. I mean, and that's really a big problem in the travel space that we've been fighting against for years. You guys have heard me talk about this before. We need more people of color in front of the camera doing stuff like this, going to different places around the world and writing about it and presenting that information. And we need outlets to step up and say, hey, we want more representation. Things are changing. Sister Kelly, she just got her show, Kelly Edwards. It's she's the second black woman to have a show on Travel Channel. Onika the Traveler just started her digital series. So things are changing, especially when you have travel groups that are popping up and YouTube channels like this one you guys are watching, where there's no gatekeeper to stop us from representing our community globally in a positive light. But with that said, you have to remember that there's still a lot of other outlets that we can't control. There's newspapers, there's magazines, there's movies. Hollywood is a great example. Think about all the great travel movies. Think about, say, Indiana Jones. Think about the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Think about Euro Trip, the Grand Budapest Hotel, the Darjeeling Limited. One of my favorite movies is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. No leads of color. Like, the only leads of color that we've seen were like in the 90s and early 2000s, which movies like How Stella Got Her Groove Back. And we're so much more than that. So culture comes into play in that aspect, that we don't have the representation in our Western culture, in our U.S. culture, to kind of get more people excited about travel from these underrepresented communities. Now, the second point of the culture argument is something that might get you in a little trouble, is that within our community, we have an issue about where people are afraid to break out. And they're afraid to break out because a lot of times when you go against the grain or you do something that you're not culturally supposed to do, you get made fun of, or you get attacked. Well, people will call you a sellout, or you're doing white people shit, or you think you're bougie, you think you're better than everybody else, and you're bougie because you want to go to skiing in Colorado, or you want to go mountain climbing in Nepal, or you want to go diving in Thailand. These are things that African Americans just haven't historically been doing. And there's some pushback, there's some community pushback. There's this idea of what blackness is, or what being Latino is. And when you go against that grain, there are a lot of people within the community who will attack you. If you just look at, I'll link it up, you look at the video I did about why I don't travel to Africa more often, you see in the comment section, I got a lot of hate for that video, where people just took it as me bashing the African continent, which is not at all. There's no instance of that in the video, but they automatically took that as me attacking the culture and our identity and our homeland, which was not the case. So that's something that people are very afraid of. That's a very, and in my opinion, it's a very real concern. You never want to be ostracized by anyone, let alone the people who look like you, by your people, by your community, by your tribe. You never want to be rejected. But at the same time, you have to push against that. You have to live the life that you want to live. You have to break barriers and push the boundaries of what is acceptable. Because who created these barriers anyway? Who created these boundaries? Who are the ones who don't want you to travel, who don't want you to see the world? You have to think about that. Who are the ones who really gain the most from you staying where you are and continuing to be marginalized and treated like second-class citizens? So culture has a very, very big impact on why people are so reluctant to travel more often, and a lot of times afraid, which brings me to my final point. So our communities have survived some of the most brutal treatment throughout history. That is a fact. And one of the ways that we've survived that is through kinship, through a clan mentality, where we look out for each other, we stick together, where the community comes together to ensure that the exceptional rise to the top, and we're protected and we're looked out for. And from that, it has also sprung this fear of the other. If you step back and you look at it, if you're getting shot in the ass in your own home by people who are supposed to protect you, why would you expect it to be any different in another country, especially when the people in that country look exactly like those who are oppressing you at home? It's a very logical way to look at things, and it's a very real world reaction to what's happening to people of color in the United States and in the West. Like, why would you expect the treatment to be any different? Granted, I'm telling you now, the treatment of people of color outside of the United States is significantly better than it is within the United States. But I can definitely understand the fear. So when you have a president that, I mean, I kind of laugh from not getting too upset about it. When you have a leader or people or entire communities who believe that an entire religion is out to kill you or destroy you, when you have people who want to perpetuate the cycle of poverty, when you have a media system that continuously shows you the worst of human nature on a daily basis, not even on a daily, on a minute by minute basis, it is just human nature to take that at face value, just to not want to take that risk, to put yourself, your friends, or your family in that position. I get a lot of kids who message me and say, I would love to do what you do, I would love to travel, but my family, but my mother, etc., etc. I have friends who actually end up traveling, who have to call home and talk to their family every single day. It is a very real fear out here, and I'm not saying it's not justified, especially if you're a woman, especially in places where sexual assault is very real, very prevalent. If you're a member of the LGBTQ community, where there are 20-something countries where you can be killed for just being gay, these are very real fears, very real concerns. But there are some things that there's some risk that you have to take. So those are the three primary reasons that I believe that more people of color do not travel abroad. The last data that I saw said that 17% of African Americans have passports. That's not saying that 17% of the population, but that 17% of the African American population actually have passports. And it's personally my goal to try to get that at least to 50% before the day that I die. I hope it gets significantly higher. Something I've long called on the U.S. government to do is to give free or discounted passports to people from underrepresented and marginalized communities. When you have study abroad programs that are 80% white, when you have kids growing up in a world, a globally connected world where they can't even go out to see it, I just think it's a shame. I think it's a problem, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing to promote travel within our community. So with that said, I want you guys to continue to leave the world better than you found it. If this video helped you, if you guys agree with me or disagree with me, as usual, comment below. I will respond as usual, and I hope to see you guys back for the next video. I'll catch you later.